This happened when I was in high school. It was summer vacation and 4 of my male friends and 1 female decided we would go check out a haunted, abandoned villa. It was in the middle of the woods. We didn't want to get caught going in there, so we went when it was dark. I think we got there just after 11 p.m. We were fearless back in those days. None of us knew the first thing about hauntings or ghost hunting. We were stood outside, trying to figure out how to go about it. I suggested we split up into 2 small teams, but the others were too nervous to be separated. The villa had 3 floors, and 1 looked to be underground. We decided to start from the top and work our way down to the basement. We assembled a line. I brought the brightest flashlight out of the group, so I was voted to be up front. We went into the villa. I cannot say that the atmosphere was odd or that it was especially spooky in there, but what freaked me out was the fact that we were constantly moving further and further from the exit, a feeling of anxiety, like there was no escape. We went down the corridor from the lobby and my friends were whipping doors open and shining flashlights in the rooms. We didn't see anything of interest and nothing scary happened. Some of the rooms were locked. Didn't know why though. It was creepy imagining what might be on the other side. We had no idea how long the villa had been abandoned. The building was pretty sound, except for the odd squeaky floorboard and broken window. Some debris in the corridor too. When you are in an abandoned house in the woods, all the sounds you make sound so loud. Each crunch of broken glass, etc. I was worried that we were going to get spotted or alert something paranormal to our presence. We began our ascent to the 2nd floor. The girl in our group paused and said something. "Is this blood?" She found some sort of dark mark on the wall. Just as she said that, my torchlight fell on a small round ball on the ground. There were lots of them. I realized that the balls were BB or airgun bullets. It was freaking us out a bit. Our friend was sure what she was looking at was blood, so she stepped back and bumped into something. Something dropped from the ceiling, narrowly missing her. A sound of the metal object impacting on the ground rang through the villa. We thought that it was some kind of booby trap. Who would set that up and why? What goes on here? We asked each other. She was so freaked out by what happened, she didn't want to go any further. Her boyfriend, who was with us, took her back to the car, which left just 3 of us. We wanted to make our way to the basement. Somehow knowing that people have been in here often made us feel a little more confident. While we were on the basement floor, we made sure we checked all the rooms. These were different rooms. Weird, windowless rooms where the walls were all painted black. We didn't like the vibe down here at all. I could tell the others wanted to get back upstairs as much as I did. But we came this far. We had to see everything. We approached one door at the end of the corridor. There was a sign on the door which read, "Boiler Room." Beneath the sign, there were some words scratched, which chilled me to the bone. "Don't open the door. The children will get out." We ran for it, but before we did, I swear I heard something move behind the door. Even if it was a prank by the people who hang out there. Even if it was nothing at all. In that moment, something deep inside of me told me to get the hell away from that place. I'm sure it was a prank. I mean, it has to be, right?
In Tokushima Prefecture, there's an abandoned hotel called the New Naruto. It's widely regarded as a haunted location. They say that it's haunted by a woman who took her own life, and if you take photos inside the abandoned hotel, she appears in them. There are also rumors that the spirit of the owner haunts the hotel. Apparently, he committed suicide when his business went under. The hotel was built alongside a cliff. The entrance is actually on the 5th floor. From there, you descend into the hotel. During the day, there are gorgeous panoramic views of the beach and the sea, but at night, the whole area is dark. The hotel has been battered by coastal winds and lashed by rain. Only a skeletal metal structure remains, which makes it a very dangerous spot to go ghost hunting. Well, apparently that wasn't enough to put me and my friends off exploring the hotel. Here's what happened, and let me warn you now, don't go there. It's terrifying. It was summer. I took 4 of my friends with me. We drove up to the hotel in good spirits that night. It was great. We were all excited as we were on summer vacation. We got to the site at about 1 a.m. We got out of the car with torches in hand, and we headed to the abandoned hotel. Because there were 5 of us, we weren't exactly frightened. When we got inside, we were on the 5th floor, and we began our descent. It felt like the stairs were going to collapse any second. They were that dilapidated. I was more scared of getting an injury than seeing a ghost. It is said that most of the paranormal activity happens on the ground floor in the communal bathroom, so that's exactly where we headed. We reached the 2nd floor and found the stairs to the ground floor. They were so damaged we needed to help each other climb down them. You can't get down to the ground floor without the help of someone on the floor above you to lower you down. So we had to split into teams. 1 team of 2 to remain on the floor above, and 1 team of 3 to explore the ground floor. We spoke about it, and I was to stay on the floor above. I didn't mind, but I was curious as to what I might miss out on. The ground floor was supposed to be the scariest place after all. Waiting for my friends to return made me anxious, and because we were in an abandoned, dilapidated building, there were incessant noises, tapping noises, howling wind, and metallic creaks. Each time we heard something strange, my friend with me looked over nervously. 15 minutes passed, and the other group hadn't returned. We heard a terrifying shriek echo through the building. What happened? Is the other group okay? I wondered. We started frantically calling out to them. After a short while, they came rushing back. We were screaming at them to tell us what had just happened. They just shouted back, "Help us! Hurry!" They were in such a panic. Just as we were heaving them up to the 2nd floor as fast as we could, I saw something down there. In the darkness, I saw a silhouette of a figure. I grabbed my torch and shone it in its direction, but there was nothing there. We scrambled back to the car as fast as we could. We all wanted to be very far away from that building. Once the other group calmed down a little, they began to tell us what had happened. They were still breathing heavily. I had to ask them again and again before I got an answer. "There was a woman down there. In the bathroom," they said, almost in unison. They said that as soon as they got into the bathroom, it felt very cold. They said that they shone their torchlight over the room and the light fell on a person, a woman with her back to them. They began to panic, and that's when we heard the scream. One friend stayed back to try and get a photo, but of course it wasn't a good photo. Someone looked out the car window towards the building and started screaming. We all began to freak out again. Some dark figure was running out of the hotel doors towards our car. I floored it without looking back, but my friends said it was a woman. It was a miracle that we didn't get into an accident. We just drove until the sun came up. We were so freaked out. We stopped by a vending machine to smoke and get a drink. One of my friends walked round to the back of the car.
Hey, you better come take a look at this,"
he said. masses of black hair entwined in the tires. We went to see a medium 5 days after, to try and get rid of whatever might be attached to us. So far, so good. Yet some of my friends believe that it was a disturbed woman down there, and not an apparition.
This is a creepy thing that happened when my friends and I were attempting to go on a paranormal adventure. We had heard a few rumors about this place out in the middle of nowhere. An abandoned amusement park. They say that the amusement park is haunted. Apparently, after it went bust, the owner took his own life by hanging himself. Rumor has it, they found his body hanging lifelessly from the Ferris wheel. Apparently, the Ferris wheel moves by itself at night, so naturally, we wanted to see if this was true. One of my friends, who has said he can sense the presence of spirits, really wanted to go, but two of my other friends needed a bit more persuasion. We wanted to go at night time since it would be creepier that way. We had difficulties finding the location. It really was in the middle of nowhere. It was in the mountains. I remember as we were driving up there, we didn't pass any other cars on the roads. We finally found the abandoned amusement park at about 2 a.m. I decided to park the car in a close-by hotel parking lot, since the road to the amusement park was in a bad way. We would walk down that desolate road. It would make the experience all the creepier. I had just parked the car, and everyone was taking their seatbelts off. Then we heard it. The unmistakable sound of knocking on the passenger side window. My friend, who said he could sense the presence of spirits, was sat in the passenger seat of my car. My car, which only moments ago was filled with laughter and excitement, fell silent. It was really eerie. None of us said a word. It was 2 a.m. We were in the middle of the mountains. We hadn't passed anyone on the drive up, and the hotel parking lot was empty. We all knew that it was impossible for a person to knock on the window and run off into the shadows without any of us spotting them. I looked out the window. There was nothing but darkness all around us. It was awful. The tension, like in one of those horror films where you know a jump scare is only seconds away. I was sweating. I didn't want to break the silence. My friend in the passenger seat turned to me and said, "Let's get out of here." Just as another knock came from the rear of the car. I glanced into the mirror. Nothing. I thought that it could have been a stone hitting the car or something. But it sounded like a very deliberate knock. I was very, very cautious when I pulled away. I didn't want to get into an accident. I really felt that there was some kind of presence out there watching us. I drove very carefully until we got to a nearby convenience store. Beneath the lights and in the safety of the convenience store, we all felt less frightened by what had just happened, and we began to talk about it. My spiritual friend said that was a warning. Something out there was telling us to turn back for sure. Do not leave the car. I think it's still with us. We drove further and further from those awful mountains, and I don't know how else to explain it, but the air in the car shifted. We all felt better. Like after you have given a presentation that you have been worried about. Like it was behind us now. We got out of the car to inspect it and found that there were several scratches on the passenger side door. From that day onwards, we promised to one another that we would never go ghost hunting again. Some things don't want to be hunted. Or maybe some things won't be hunted. They'd rather hunt you. I can only imagine what would have happened if we got out of the car.
There's a famous abandoned building in Niigata. They call one of the most haunted places in Japan. It's called the White House. There are several rumors about it. Some say that it's a former diplomat's holiday home. The diplomat had a daughter who suffered terribly with mental illness. He forced her into isolation on the second floor. He kept her hidden away like a dirty secret. She escaped her room and killed her family with her father's hunting rifle. I'm a taxi driver, and this is a terrifying true story about the White House. I was familiar with the rumors about the White House. I knew that it was abandoned, but I didn't know how true the stories were. One thing I do know is that building does have iron bars on the second floor window, but I was sure that was just a crime prevention thing. Since I'm a taxi driver, occasionally I had customers ask me to take them to the White House. Teenagers, ghost hunters, and occult lovers, I call them. I was used to it. One guy, however, was a bit more mysterious than the others. A man in a suit hailed my taxi from the station and asked me to take him to the White House. The man in the suit was very quiet and it made conversation awkward, but you get the odd customer who's like that. As we approached the building, he asked me to stop the taxi. "I'm going to be back in 15 minutes. Can you wait here for me?" he said as he passed me a note. 10,000 yen. I wasn't exactly over the moon to be waiting near a haunted location, but the tip swayed me. Plus, I was pretty curious. The man in the suit got out of the car and he started up the hill towards the White House. I sat there reading a magazine. 15 minutes passed, then 30. He hadn't returned. I wanted to go, but I didn't have the heart to leave him there. I decided to go in search of him. I grabbed a flashlight from the trunk. I didn't want to go into a supposedly haunted location in the dark alone, but I didn't have much choice. The White House seemed to glow in the darkness. My torchlight revealed overgrown bushes and thickets. I listened closely for movement, but there was no sign of the man outside. I really didn't want to go inside, so I stood at the entrance and called out to him in a whisper. No matter how many times I called out, there was no response. I had no choice, I had to go in. Couldn't see much as it was pitch black beyond my torchlight. I could hear the sound of my own heartbeat in my ears. It was eerily silent in there. I was sweating. I could feel the torch in my hand getting wet. My footsteps over the broken glass echoed through the building. With each footstep, I got further from the only exit, and my fear increased. I scoured the first floor, but there was no sign of that man in the suit. I shone my torch at the stairs. I didn't want to go up them. I don't take ghost stories for granted. Upstairs was the room where they say the diplomat's daughter was imprisoned. I started to climb the stairs, my flashlight shaking as I went. I was trembling. I called out again and again, no response. I kept moving forward, even though I wanted to turn back. I approached the room. I felt something in the air as I got closer. I knew it must be the diplomat's daughter's room. I pointed my flashlight in the room, and my torchlight fell on a person stood in the middle of the room. It was the man in the suit. He was stood with his back facing me. He was staring out of the iron-barred windows. "Are you okay?" I heard myself ask. I ran around to face him. His eyes were rolled right back. I could only see the whites of his eyes, from the corner of my eye. I swear I saw a shadow shift. And I heard a whisper. I don't know what it said though, but it sounded like a girl's voice. I screamed. The noise just came out of me. It wasn't voluntary. I grabbed hold of him and ushered him outside, supporting his weight. We got out, and I looked back at the White House. The rumors say that you can see 2 figures in the window some nights, but I saw more than 2 figures. There was a lot. I got him in the back of my taxi and I stepped on it. The man in the suit slowly regained consciousness, and I told him about what I had just witnessed. He said he was a psychic medium and he was conducting some kind of seance. He said he was there to investigate the White House. He didn't believe it was haunted. He seemed to be in a great deal of shock, but refused to go to the hospital. He just asked me to take him back to the station. On the way, he told me that this sort of thing was his line of work, and he asked me not to tell others about what I had seen tonight. Just before he got out of my cab, he turned to me and strongly reminded me not to tell anyone. A couple of days later, I found that man's blog post. Everything I mentioned to him was in there, but he failed to say that I rescued him. He also embellished parts of the story, which is why I don't mind sharing it. Either way, since this incident, I refuse to take passengers to the White House.